Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our daily word this morning. We have reached the end of another week, and we are quickly approaching the end of the month of January. So glad you could join me for our time together this morning as we continue to carve out time in our lives for the daily word and how it speaks to us and what Scripture says to us as we're called to live our daily lives. So, as always, I'm grateful to you that you would take the time to be with me and spend these 8 or 9 or 10 minutes with me as we have journeyed together through these many months. Today, we hit another milestone, I guess you could say. We are at daily word number 660. And so I kind of did a little math. I multiplied the other day. If the daily word averages 8 minutes, it's in excess of 5,200 minutes, 5,200 plus minutes that we have spent together, and 5,200 plus minutes that I've had something to say. I know that's not a shock for anyone. So thanks for joining me again this morning. I hope you'll join us on Sunday morning for worship as we gather at 10:15 and explore again what it means to live our lives together. And so plan to join us. If you can't be there, you can join us here on Facebook Live as well. So for our scripture this morning, I've chosen from Psalm 90, two verses from that psalm, verse 10 and verse 12. And they're probably familiar words that you've heard from the psalmist. The days of our lives are like 70 years, and perhaps 80 if we are strong. So teach us to count our days that we may gain a wise heart. I had to get my driver's license renewed yesterday. I kept putting it off a little bit, and Diane kept saying, Jim, don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till the last minute. Well, I have a commercial driver's license because I have a bus license, and so it requires a little extra paperwork, and so I had to get my birth certificate and make sure I had everything in order. And so yesterday afternoon, I finally decided that it was the time. And so I got there, and behold, there was only one other car in the parking lot, and I was so thrilled. So I went in and punched my information in the little iPad, and the young lady that helped me was superb, and she was excellent, and we talked about all kinds of things, and went through my information, scanned in my birth certificate, had to do an eye test, and so I went down there, and I passed with flying colors, and she said, just read the middle line, which was really easy. And I said, well, I can read 2 lines below that. Nope, no need for that. And the whole flashing light, you've all done that. And she said, well, you can see great. I said, well, it's a miracle what good glasses can do for you. And then we got all my information. I had to renew the tags on my car. I got that done. Took my picture for my new driver's license. And she turned it around and said, is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, it looks like me. I really don't care about what my picture looks like on my driver's license, I guess. And so we got done. She was very kind, and I went on my way. And I looked at that picture and my picture from a few years ago, and I thought, well, not much has changed in me, at least from the shoulders up, I guess. A little thinner in the face, I suppose. But I got to thinking about that, and I have a birthday coming up next Wednesday. I'm going to be 59, and had a conversation, you might be reading this already, had a conversation with someone about my age, and he told me that when I foolishly said, how old do you think I am? He said, in your 60s. Not 60, but in your 60s, 63, 64, 65. And I thought, wow, I guess my picture I really look much older than I am. But I got to thinking about that in relation to this text from the psalmist. The days of our lives are 70 years or perhaps 80 if we are strong. So teach us to count our days that we may gain a wise heart. Teach us to number our days, count our days. Now, if you're like me, I'm kind of in shock when I think about next Wednesday, I'll turn 59. I'm kind of in shock when I think how fast I went from 10 to 59. It's like it was in just a heartbeat, and how fast I went from a young husband and father to a papa of 5 of the most beautiful children you will ever see in your entire life. No matter where you go, you would find not better or more beautiful grandchildren than mine. That's my biased opinion. But I got to thinking about this scripture for us as we live our lives together. I've had the privilege in my life, to baptize babies, to marry young couples and older couples, to baptize adults, to officiate funerals, to be in conversation with confirmation students, to talk about children's messages with young people in church. I've had the pleasure of watching many basketball players, kids who start as freshmen, and then next thing you know, I'm talking about them at senior night and watching their growth and seeing how they've just become not just better basketball players, but better young men and young women along the way, how they've matured along the way. I've had that pleasure in all of my life. And I got to thinking about, if you're like me, you have a list of things you want to do. Some of you already know. I don't know that I will ever do it, of course, because of my physical limitations. But man, I so want to do the Grand Canyon, and so other places I want to go. Maybe the best I'll do ever again, is to go from here to my place at the lake and back. Maybe that's the best I'll do. But here's the thinking about what I think the psalmist has to say to us. That our lives that God's given us, we're called to use what we have. Number our days, the scripture says, with this caveat. And the caveat from the psalmist is, teach us to count our days that we may gain a wise heart. Wisdom. Last night when I got home, when Diana and I got home from eating dinner, we watched a show called The Craftsman. I've really never seen. I watched snippets, but I've never watched very much of it. A man who lives in Eureka, California, who's a remarkable craftsman, and he was telling his life story. How he dropped out of school at 16 because he couldn't read, and they kept telling him that he was dumb. And he's a self-taught craftsman. He said, but I don't just tell you how to do stuff, I want to show you. And he's done these remarkable things. And his wisdom last night really spoke to me in relation to this text. We should use our lives, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. The oldest person in the world, I don't know if you saw, the oldest person in the world, a nun, died at 118 just the other day. We should gain a wise heart, wisdom. And I think wisdom, doesn't just come with age, but it comes with knowing how to live our lives fully and to use all that we have. I posted a quote earlier this morning from Irma Bombeck about something in context like this. When I stand before God, I hope I will use up every bit of talent that I have nothing left. That's bugging me, and maybe it should bug us, because sometimes we hold back for a rainy day, if you will. And the psalmist says, look, the days of our lives are 70, perhaps 80 years, if we're strong. So we should count our days and gain a wise heart and use that wisdom that God gives us to change and affect the lives of others. So my bucket list, maybe I need to throw it away, crumple it up and throw it away. Because there's lots of things I haven't done that I'll probably never do. But maybe, just maybe, that's a blessing, because in my life and in yours, God's given us this wisdom that we should use to help others. So I hope that's a good word for you today. As I struggle with what that means, and as I approach another birthday, and think about a person who thinks I'm in my 60s and whatever all of that means, just a reminder that God gives us these days and asks us and wants us and desires of us to gain a wise heart. So, thanks for joining me today. Know of God's love that surrounds you. I'll see you Sunday morning at 10:15. Know of my love for you, and we'll gather again here for the Daily Word on Monday at 10 a.m.